The following video contains spoilers for the game Powerwash Simulator. Hey everyone, it's been a hot minute since I've made a video. So, instead of making another Witcher part, which... oh my gosh, I can't do that, I'm sorry. I've decided to talk about the lore surrounding one of my new favorite games. It's a simulator game by Future Labs called Powerwash Simulator. You've probably heard of it. You'd think a game like this wouldn't contain much lore and would just be another run-of-the-mill simulator, but it's not. I've decided to organize the existing lore and add some fluff, quite literally, to bring it all together under one roof. Now, buckle up, get your power washer, and let's clean something fun. We start in a game that takes place in the fictional land of Muckingham and its surrounding areas. When you start Clean the Bungalow, which is the first level in the game, you can see a large volcano on the horizon. This volcano becomes a common sight throughout each level. The volcano is called Mount Rushless. It's the reason that multiple locations are covered in what appears to be volcanic ash and soot. Mount Rushless is a restless volcano that threatens Muckingham's very existence. As each job progresses, you can see more and more smoke pluming out of it. We'll come back to the volcano later. It's time to address the cat in the room. The next set of mysteries revolves around Muckingham's mayor, Jeff Jefferson XIII. Jefferson is introduced to us only by Mayor during Clean the Playground, where we learn that his cat Ulysses has vanished prior to some sort of event or ceremony that'd take place in spring. This causes the entire town to go out looking for Ulysses, and they begin to see him in different places all over. Areas such as the top of Rushless, of Golf Course, and even his face in the crystal ball at Uncanny Fanny's caravan. Caldera City Transportation Network contacts you to clean a once vacant platform that serviced and connected multiple cities to Muckingham. The line was recreated in 1920 and funded by a man named Wilberforce Thrust. On the day of unveiling, Jeff Jefferson X was crushed by the station's substandard construction. In 1923, the subway was reopened by Jeff Jefferson XI, Jefferson's grandfather. It closed again following a startling realization that Thrust had been stealing money from Muckingham and utilizing his quick-fix station to get the money out. The money had never been found again. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I just tell you all of that information after talking about a cat? Well, it'll make sense in a second. You're tasked with cleaning Jefferson's house of eggs and graffiti. Jefferson argues that he doesn't deserve this sort of treatment, and that he's none the wiser as to why he was rebelled against. Well, and his cat's missing, so how dare us, right? He seems to utilize this deflection, like all good politicians, to point everyone away from the truth. His house was egged due to the local temple monks finding out he'd redirected all of their water to his project. This begins the hint that something's off under the streets of Muckingham. Quite literally. Now let's get back to Ulysses. See, I told you, the cat's important. Ulysses is the English translation of the name Odysseus. The name itself is the title of a 1922 retelling of Homer's Odyssey. Odysseus is most famously known as the Greek hero who tricked the Trojans into accepting the gift of a giant horse that was full of warriors ready to slay them. Under the cover of darkness, they entered Troy and laid siege to it. Odysseus and Diomedes stole the palladium from within the walls for their own. Palladium, if we take it more literally than in mythos, is an element that can be harvested in sulfide materials, which can be found in many places, even within volcanoes. Palladium can be utilized for things such as fuel cells, or help create technology. Though, in parallel with this legend, I'd assume the mayor was Diomedes, and his business partner Blake Thrust was Odysseus. In lore, Odysseus tries to steal all of the palladium for himself, and even plotted to kill Diomedes to take his share. Yet, he failed abysmally in doing so. This is foreshadowing for things to come. Blake Thrust is a millionaire who owns an extensive amount of technology and illegal mines in and around Muckingham. Thrust is related to the late Wilberforce, who stole the money from the city and most likely reincorporated it into their own company. Which begs the question, why is Jefferson friends with him? Maybe he feels he can get the money back, or avenge his ancestor. Thrust instructs the player to clean his mining rig and superpowered jet, both of which are eyebrow-raising. His jet has the capability to shoot down another aircraft, or even defy gravity, in almost reality-bending ways. Perhaps he utilized palladium to armor his jet. He does mention that it is clad in something more pure and tough than normal metal. This brings us back to a peculiar situation. Sonia Alamudden's statue finds. Each statue and monument she has the player clean is amphibious and water-related in nature, and clad in a mysterious stone or metal mixture. Palladium, perhaps? The first of the two is a guardian without arms, and the second is only the hand pointing out to the Pacific Ocean. Once the first statue is cleaned, a mysterious laser flies out from the top and into Mount Rushless, while the hand continues to point off to who knows where. This follows Uncanny Franny's vision of our future. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm going to be deliberately vague here. But there are things you're going to do and see beyond your imagination in the next little while that are going to blow your mind. And indeed it does. We find that our dear friend Harper Shaw, the one who gave us the van, lost his phone and has no idea where it went, which is what makes the next sequence of events very interesting. Someone texts you from Shaw's original phone and asks that you clean their recreational vehicle again. When you arrive, you're met with a vehicle. It's clean, it's confusing, and then suddenly, it's a flying saucer? The man introduces himself as Cerulean Sky, a scientist from 2278. He informs you that the timeline is all cattywampus and he's unsure of what happened. His vehicle, damaged due to Thrust's jet laser, is fixed once the player finishes the job. He informs us that Thrust has found palladium in Rushless, and is mining under it despite the increasing danger to Muckingham, and even the world. Before we reach our conclusion, we're given a seemingly mundane job on a fishing vessel. The owner of the vessel talks about going on a fishing trip, only to find himself smelling something wonderful. The aroma led him closer and closer to something with high amounts of energy, and before he could make it, he was struck with a ridiculously large wave. When he returned to shore, he was greeted with seemingly hundreds of cats, all longing and looking for the same scent that he did. Was Ulysses among them? By the time the player finishes the fishing boat's cleaning, we're messaged by Sonia again, who tells us about her newest discovery, a palace in the direction that the finger was pointing. She likens this to the lost city of Atlantis, but calls it the city of pacifists due to its location. By the time we make it to the palace, we can view Rushless in the background spewing out lava and emitting an ominous red haze. Muckingham, with everyone in it, as well as the entire world, are in peril. Miller informs us of Rushless, as Sky foretold, putting everyone across the Pacific Rim in danger. As the player cleans the palace, it's revealed there's a statue of them. Shaw questions how that could be, as the civilization existed thousands of years before. As all of the pieces come together, and we continue cleaning, we learn that Thrust has punctured the magma chamber and left traces of mysteriously luminous ore. Yet Thrust is seemingly nowhere to be found, until Miller emerges from the volcano to find a strange jet flying through the air towards the temple at Mach speeds. Once the player cleans the final gem, it emits a large beam of light similar to the other statue towards Rushless. Thrust is seen heading towards the temple, and then his jet is immediately hit down when Sky's saucer appears out of absolutely nowhere. He explains that he traveled back further in time to piece together all of Thrust's ambitious projects to figure out his endgame. Thrust was obsessed with the pacifists and their rare and powerful ore. He began opening mines haphazardly all over Muckingham to find it, and then struck a very, very rich stream of all of the ore he could imagine inside of Rushless. Then he used it to create his own technology to fund his projects. This plan was a double-edged sword. If he could control the tectonic plate movement, he could have also had the entire Lost City Palace to himself. Yet, in doing so, he'd have thrown the entire world into an apocalypse. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you. If you liked it, please make sure to hit that like button. I'm sure you're tired of hearing that, but it's important to say. Otherwise, thank you for watching. See you later.